Namaste, I'm Samta Aunty, the founder and CEO of Virtual Preschool, where children learn Hindi through English. Today we are going to celebrate Holi. I'm going to tell you a couple of stories about how Holi started, why it's celebrated, and teach you some Holi vocabulary. So let's get started. Once upon a time, there was a Raja named Hiranyakashyap. He was a bad Raja who was angry all the time. Raja Hiranyakashyap did not like this Bhagwan. This is Bhagwan Vishnu. And he didn't like Vishnu because a long time ago, Vishnu punished Raja Hiranyakashyap's brother, whose name was Hiranyaksha. But why? Why did Vishnu punish his brother? Well, Hiranyaksha wanted to be the most powerful person on earth. So one day he took Mother Earth, Goddess Bhumi, into the ocean, and he used his powerful mace to create a hole in the ocean floor. He was going to bury her deep in the ocean. But Bhagwan Vishnu was like, I don't think so. Bhagwan Vishnu is the protector of the universe. And whenever bad things happen on earth, he transforms himself into a person or an animal and travels to earth to save everyone. And in this part of the story, Vishnu took the form of a buffalo named Varaha. Varaha was way more powerful than Hiranyaksha, and so he saved Goddess Bhumi. So that's why Raja Hiranyakashyap did not like Vishnu. And he wanted everyone to worship him instead of Vishnu because he thought he was just as powerful as Vishnu. But why? Why would a regular person think he's as powerful as a god? Well, because a Bhagwan granted him a wish. This is Bhagwan Brahma. And you can tell who he is by his char heads. You can only see you can only see 3 of his heads, but he's got one in the back. But why would a Bhagwan have char heads? Well, Bhagwan Brahma is the creator of the whole universe. And creating a whole universe seems kind of like a tough job, right? So he grew 4 heads pointing in each direction, north, south, east, and west, so that he could see everything at the same time, and that would make it easier for him to create the universe. And remember I said that Bhagwan Brahma granted Raja Hiranyakashyap a wish? Well, Raja Hiranyakashyap asked to be invincible. Invincible means to be so powerful that no one can hurt him. But why did Bhagwan Brahma grant a bad guy a wish? Well, Bhagwan Brahma didn't know at the time that Raja Hiranyakashyap was a bad guy. Bhagwan Brahma agreed to grant Raja Hiranyakashyap a wish, but he said, "You're not human. I cannot grant you the wish of invincibility, but I can make it so that you cannot die from any human, animal, nor other being that was created by me." Raja Hiranyakashyap thought that was a good deal, but because Brahma is the creator of the universe, and he created everyone and everything, he thought he was outsmarting Brahma, that no one could hurt him. Or so Raja Hiranyakashyap thought. He was blinded by his power in the moment to really think through that. So Bhagwan Brahma released his divine energy and granted Raja Hiranyakashyap his wish. After that day, Raja Hiranyakashyap thought he was even more powerful than Vishnu and every other god because he was almost invincible. Not totally invincible, but almost. Everyone in the kingdom was afraid of him. Well, everyone except for his son, Prahlad. When Prahlad was little, Raja Hiranyakashyap asked him, Beta, what do you think is the best thing in life? And Prahlad said, to love Bhagwan Vishnu. So how do you think that made Raja Hiranyakashyap feel? Was he Kush or was he Gussa? He was Gussa, right? He was angry at hearing that answer. Raja Hiranyakashyap was so disturbed by Prahlad's answer that he sent Prahlad away to a school. And he told the teacher to teach Prahlad that Vishnu is not a Bhagwan and that no one is more powerful than his father. His teacher taught him that he should worship no one other than his father, Raja Hiranyakashyap. Prahlad learned to ignore what his guru taught him and never wavered in his love and faith for Vishnu. Years later, when Prahlad was finished with his schooling and returned to his ghar, his papa asked him, Beta, what did you learn at school? And Prahlad said, I learned that worshipping Bhagwan Vishnu is the best thing in the world. Now, how do you think Raja Hiranyakashyap felt? Was he Kush or was he super Gussa? He was super Gussa, right? Yeah. He took Prahlad outside and said, I am the only god that you should worship. And Prahlad said, you're not a god. You're a regular person, just like everybody else. Bhagwan Vishnu is a god, and I only pray to him. Raja Hiranyakashyap decided to prove to Prahlad that he was even more powerful than Vishnu. He took Prahlad to the forest and threw his spear a very far distance and said, see, look how far I can throw weapons. And Prahlad said, that's really nice, but that doesn't mean you're a god. Then he called a warrior from the kingdom to shoot him with arrows, and he didn't get hurt. He said, see, no weapons can harm me. I am invincible. Then Raja Hiranyakashyap called the strongest warrior from the kingdom, and they fought for a really long time. And Raja Hiranyakashyap won. After watching all of that, Prahlad said, yeah, but the only reason you can do all of these things is because Bhagwan Brahma gave you a wish. And that means that a Bhagwan can also take it away. So that's why you are not and never will be as powerful as Bhagwan Vishnu. Now Raja Hiranyakashyap was so angry that he decided he was going to hurt Prahlad to make him an example for the rest of the kingdom. Raja Hiranyakashyap was a mean king, and he liked that everyone in his kingdom was afraid of him. But he worried that if they saw that his own son wasn't afraid of him, then others would stop being afraid too. And after that, Prahlad went to live in the forest on his own. He wanted to lead a simple life away from the Mahal and spend most of his time praying to Bhagwan Vishnu. One day, Raja Hiranyakashyap set out towards Prahlad's ghar in the forest. Prahlad greeted Raja Hiranyakashyap. Pranam Maharaj. Raja Hiranyakashyap said, let's go for a walk. And Prahlad went with him. After all, he was happy that his papa had come to visit him. When they were far enough away from his ghar, Raja Hiranyakashyap took out his bow and arrow and pointed it straight at Prahlad. At first, Prahlad got scared and said, Papa, don't! But then Prahlad smiled really big and closed his eyes and prayed to Bhagwan Vishnu. Raja Hiranyakashyap shot arrow after arrow, but they all missed because Bhagwan Vishnu was protecting Prahlad. And after a while, Raja Hiranyakashyap was out of arrows and gave up. Prahlad then said, Bye, Dad! And he went back to his ghar, while Raja Hiranyakashyap was confused and tired. So he went back to his mahal. A few days later, Prahlad went for a boat ride at a beautiful Jharna. And all of a sudden, huge boulders and rocks started falling from the hilltop above. Prahlad paddled as far to the side as he could, and when he looked up, he saw a monster standing at the top of the hill, holding a rock, ready to throw it. He was purposely throwing the huge rocks right at Prahlad. And what do you think Prahlad did? He smiled, closed his eyes, and prayed to Vishnu. The monster kept throwing rocks, but they just fell into the pani because Bhagwan Vishnu was protecting him. Soon the monster gave up and left. But why was a monster throwing rocks at him in the first place? Well, it turned out that Raja Hiranyakashyap had sent him to hurt Prahlad. Raja Hiranyakashyap couldn't believe that the monster failed. How was Prahlad able to survive such dangerous attacks? He decided that he needed help and that he would ask his monster sister for help. Raja Hiranyakashyap's sister was mean, just like him. And she had a special power. She had a magic cloak. The cloak protected her from Og. She could stand in Og wearing that cloak and not get hurt. Raja Hiranyakashyap sent his guard to bring her to his mahal. When she arrived, she said, "Yes, Bhaiya, what can I do for you?" And Raja Hiranyakashyap told her all about Prahlad and how far he threw his spear and how arrows didn't even hurt him and how he fought a strong warrior and won. And he said, "Still, Prahlad refuses to think of me as a god, and he prays only to Vishnu. I want you to teach him a lesson so that he will pray to me and only me." And she said, "Don't worry, Bhaiya, I will take care of this." She set out towards Prahlad's ghar in the forest, and he greeted her. "Pranam, Buaji." She gave him a fake smile and said, "I'm very thirsty after my long journey. Can you please get me some pani?" He went to the back of his ghar to get her some pani from the kua. And when his back was turned, she snatched Prahlad in her arms and put him in her chariot. She raced deep into the forest and made a big Og. Then she grabbed Prahlad and took him into the Og. And he said, "Wait, please, stop." But she didn't listen. So Prahlad did what he always did. He smiled, closed his eyes, and he prayed to Bhagwan Vishnu. As he prayed, Vishnu created a strong gush of wind, and the magic cloak fell off of Bua's kande and onto Prahlad's kande. Prahlad stepped out of the Og unharmed and smiled, and he looked up, folded his hands, and said, "Dhanyavad, Bhagwan Vishnu." "Thank you, Vishnu." Even though he couldn't see him, he knew that Vishnu was protecting him. But the demoness sister was not so lucky. She disappeared in the Og. When Raja Hiranyakashyap heard the news of his sister's disappearance, he was very udas. And remember at the beginning of the story when I told you that whenever there was a bad guy on earth, Vishnu transformed himself into a person or animal and came to earth? Well, in this part of the story, Bhagwan Vishnu took the form of a sher, of a lion. The sher's name was Narasimha. And Narasimha went to Raja Hiranyakashyap's ghar and said, "Hiranyakashyap, you have been very bad. If you don't stop, I will hurt you. You have forgotten who gave you your gift of invincibility. And instead of using that gift to do good things, you have done only bad things. and I am giving you one chance to stop. Raja Hiranyakashipu realized how badly he had behaved and asked Narasimha for forgiveness. And he lived the rest of his life helping others. And Prahlad lived a happy life dedicated to Bhagwan Vishnu. And that is the story of Holi. The end. But wait, you might be thinking, Auntie, that doesn't tell us why it's called Holi. Great question. The reason we call it Holi is because Raja Hiranyakashipu's sister was named Holika. And doesn't Holika sound like holy? Yeah. By naming the holiday after her, we are reminded of the power of good winning over bad. And in India, many people celebrate Holi by lighting a bonfire. And we call that Holika Dahan. And that's usually celebrated the night before the main Holi day. So now you might be wondering, well, that makes sense. But Auntie, what's the deal with the colored powder and putting colored powder all over each other? And why is Holi associated with colors at all? More great questions, mere bachchu. Let's talk about it. First, why is Holi a celebration of colors? Because every year Holi is around March or April, and it marks the end of winter, the end of cold winter days, and welcomes warmth and growth and colorful flowers blossoming and trees growing and kids playing outside again. It's a time for new beginnings, just like Prahlad's life after his dad was stopped by Narasimha. So why do people wear safed on Holi? Well, a few reasons. One is that in India at that time, it's super hot, so white keeps people cool. But also white symbolizes peace. And also because at the end of the day of playing with all those colors, the colors are very visible on safed clothes. But where did the tradition of putting colored powder all over people start? Well, there's a story for that too that I'm going to tell you right now. First, let's talk about the colored powder. It's called gulal. And the tradition of putting colored powder all over each other started with Krishna. One day, Krishna asked his mama, "Mama, how come I am not as pretty as Radha? I'm this funny Neela color, and Radha is so pretty." She smiled and said, "Well, if it bothers you, why don't you put color on Radha's face?" Krishna liked this idea a lot. So he set off throughout the village gathering flowers and other things to make colored powder. He called his friends to help him, and of course they couldn't resist their mischievous fun and took some makhan from ghars as they made their powder. When the powder was ready, Krishna invited Radha to the waterfall, to the Jarna, where they could play and go for a boat ride while the cows grazed. As they sailed on the Nadi, Krishna took out his Neela powder and put it all over Radha's face and hair. And she laughed and laughed and laughed. And then she took some powder and put it all over Krishna. They had so much fun that everyone from the village joined in. And this became a yearly tradition. And that is why we celebrate Holi with gulal. And the last thing I want to teach you today is to say Holi hai. That translates to it's holy. But when we say it to mean yay, it's holy. So you got to say it with some emphasis and meaning. Holi hai. Try it. Holi hai. And I hope you have as much fun as this little girl on Holi. Dhanyavad for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me and wishing you a very happy Holi.